And because this is also static light, we have to recalculate the lighting to see the effect. And if you have the impression that one light is too strong, one of these light sources is too strong, you can go to the properties of the light. For instance, for my directional light, I'd like to change the intensity a little bit. And I change the multiplier, for instance, to 0.7, and then calculate lighting again. And I can see that maybe on the beamer it's not as visible as on the screen, but the shadows are not as dark as before for the directional light. Okay, so I hope everybody got the lights working. So now we are going to create a new layer where we'll place the blocks. So I click the Add Layer button, call it Blocks. This is just to organize our scene a little bit. And our blocks will be entities, so dynamic objects. So we drag in an entity, you can find that under Object, and go back to the properties, pick a model file. And here we can see the different blocks. So I select, for instance, the yellow one, which appears black because if it's too low on the floor, then the light cannot affect it. So just pull it up a little bit. And also place a second one, just to have two different kind of blocks. And because we want to create a lot of these little blocks and don't want to change the property of each block again and again, we're going to create a prefab of these blocks. And the prefab is something like a construction plan, so we can create instances of the same object again and again and again. So we can do this by selecting the shape, and then here we have the option Create Prefab. And we just give it a name like yellow block. And we can organize our prefabs in categories and stuff like this. You don't have to do it, just click OK. And we do the same for the blue one. And now, when we switch to the shape creator again and scroll down to the bottom, we can see there's a folder prefabs. And now we can just drag in these parts as we define them. We can delete the first two because they were just templates to create this prefab, so we can delete these two. And then we can start making a couple of blocks like, yes, your level should look like. So just copy it like we did it with the tiles from the floor. Just copy them as you like. You know, maybe you want to have 2 or 3 lines of this block, however your level should look like. So this will look different for everybody. I think we have some time now to arrange it. If you have any problems with that, just let us know, we try to fix it. Please leave a little space at the bottom, otherwise you have no room that the pedal can move. And that's also a good point to save our work. Okay, so when we finished positioning our blocks, we create a new layer where we place all the play objects. So we again need an entity, just drag it in, go to the properties and pick the pedal as model file. and place it at a position where you think it should, should work for your game. Not too low here, because we need some space to detect when the ball misses. So just somewhere here. And we also need a ball, so we drag in another entity for the ball. Change again to the properties and pick the ball modifier. And we will use physics to move our ball around. So we go to the components here. If you don't see the components panel, you can bring it up by pressing here the panels button and select components. And we will give our ball a Havok Rigid body. So just click the blue button to assign it. And now we could do a first test. When we click here in the play button, the little button here, we can say run in editor. We should see that the ball is falling down a little bit. Okay, everybody has a ball that is falling down. Okay, for our game we actually want that the ball is not falling down to the floor. We want to let it fall against the pedal. So to change that, we change the gravity. So for that we go to the panels button and bring up the Havok physics panel. And here we can see a setting called gravity. And if you press the little arrow here, you have the different values for the gravity. Now we just copy the value from the z-axis to the y-axis and set the z-axis to 0. And now when we press the play in editor button again, it should fall against the pedal. Okay, so please switch to the physics panel again. We have to make a small change for the scripting we will do. So find here the custom layer 0, and we want to disable any collisions with the custom 0 level. Okay, and we can identify objects in our scene by giving them names. We call it the entity key, just to identify object. So everybody, please select the ball entity. We have a property called here object key, and please everybody name it ball lowercase. So now the object has a name, and we can grab the object within our script by just saying, okay, give us the object having the name ball. Okay, and we also want to have a physics object for our pedal. So we select the pedal and select the component panel again, and assign a Havok Rigid body to the pedal. And for this rigid body, we have to change the settings a little bit because we want to move the pedal, we want to affect it. So there's a setting called motion type, and we change it from dynamic to keyframed. So keyframe means we can set the position of it. And the collision layer. So you remember we disabled all collisions for custom layer 0, which is 27. You don't need to remember, just insert here 27 for the collision layer. Okay, everybody assigned these two values to the rigid body? Okay, so next we want to detect when the ball is falling on the pedal. And we can do that with a trigger box, so we change to the shape creator panel. And here we have the trigger box and drag it into the viewport. And we have, for the trigger box, 3 yellow dots we can use to change the size of the trigger box. Make it about of the size from the pedal. So make it that the pedal is inside the box.